let's go. What's up, my friends? This is Steve with Legacy Eats. Today I'm bringing you Audrey's favorite chocolate chip cookies. Before we get into this, I want to say a quick thing. As most of you know, our nonverbal son uses sign language to the best of his ability to communicate throughout the day. He has his own dialogue, but in an effort to make these videos more friendly to those who have hearing impairments or otherwise, we're going to try to incorporate as much sign language as possible. So, chocolate chip cookies may seem really simple to most people, but there's a couple tricks that'll really help you out if you're a person that likes to make their own cookies. Your typical recipe is going to use about half shortening and half butter. The reason for that is because butter melts so fast it can really give you problems at the edge of your cookies when they come out really thin. I've got a couple things that are going to help you fix that, and I'm going to use all butter because I'm fat like that and that's what I do. So we're going to start with chilled butter. We don't want it frozen, but we don't want it totally room temperature either. We don't want to give this butter any type of head start at all while we're mixing it in. We're going to pull this up and let this go because we want to work this butter out a little bit and we want to loosen that up so that the sugars we're about to incorporate go in smooth. Don't forget to stop partway through and scrape the butter off the sides to make sure everything gets worked out to the same consistency. This recipe is starting out like any other chocolate chip recipe, but you'll see in a minute where things go different. After our butter is worked out and loosened a little bit, we're going to add 1 cup of brown sugar. And the thing about sugars when it comes to cookies is that typically the more white sugar you have, the easier your cookies are going to be to burn. Brown sugar is going to add a chewiness because the white sugar melts much easier than the brown sugar. So for this recipe, we're going to use 1 cup of light brown sugar. At the same time, I'm going to add a 1/3 cup of white granulated sugar, and our mixer is going to incorporate that and the light brown sugar into the butter for us. And of course, partway through that process, we're going to use our rubber spatula to scrape down the side so everything gets mixed and consistent. After we've incorporated our sugar into our butter thoroughly, we're going to add in our extracts, and this is where things change from typical chocolate chip cookie recipes. For this recipe, we're going to add, of course, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 egg, but then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vinegar and a 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. And trust me when I tell you this, just take a chance and try this right here. This is going to change your life. Change your life. So don't forget this part. 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract and a teaspoon of white vinegar. We've got our 2 secret ingredients mixed in, we've got 1 more secret ingredient, and then the rest is about method and execution. Our other secret ingredient is 1 pack of cook and serve vanilla pudding mix. This is going to make our cookies stay and continue to be moist and chewy throughout the cooking process. I prefer a little bit of a drier cookie because I like to dip mine in milk, so I typically don't use the vanilla pudding mix, but if you want consistently chewy cookies, this is something you gotta add. So add in 1 packet of vanilla pudding mix. Next, we're going to add 2 cups of King Arthur all-purpose flour. We're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. You can do this a little bit at a time or all at once, it's up to you. A little bit at a time will be a lot less messy. What you're looking for at this point is making sure that the flour you just put in gets moist. You don't want to overmix this because what happens when we work flour? We get glue, and we want cookies, we don't want bread. So try to mix this just until the flour barely gets moist, okay? In my opinion, chocolate chip cookies are something where the ingredients matter. So of course, the higher quality your product and the better your understanding of how to execute this, the better your cookies are going to come out. So what are our 3 secret ingredients? A 1/4 teaspoon of almond extract, a teaspoon of white vinegar, and 1 packet of vanilla pudding cook and serve. We've got all our ingredients in the bowl now. All we have to do is send in the fillers. For each batch of this cookie dough, use about 2 cups of ingredients when you're adding in your chips or whatever. And you can add a plethora of things. You can add toffee bits, you can add pieces of caramel. I like milk chocolate cookie chips. There's a ton of tests they ran on what the best chocolate is, and at the end of the day, no matter what any review ever says, the best product is the one that tastes best to you. So, if you're using chocolate chips like me, add in 2 cups of chocolate chips right now. I think I went a little heavy on me, but it's cool. We're gonna add those in, we're gonna give it like 4 turns, and that's it. So now our chocolate chip cookie dough is all done. That's gonna allow plenty of time for all of the extracts, the flours, the sugars to incorporate and dissolve and really marry together. It's also going to make sure that every part of this dough is ice cold. And there's many different ways to store this cookie dough. I've seen people lay it out on cellophane and roll it up in big logs so they can cut it. Word to the wise about this cookie dough, your biggest problem after you make this cookie dough is making sure your little monsters don't get their hands in it. Because if you're not careful, you'll go back and make your cookies and all the dough will be gone. So make sure you write something on it. You can even hide it in a lucrative spot in the fridge if your fridge is big enough. After understanding the procedural processes, my biggest trouble with this dough is making sure that other people don't eat it before I get a chance to put it in the oven. So make sure you guard this with your life. This step is so important. 4 hours in the fridge and not a second before. I want to talk to you about this little box of plastic wrap. If you've been in the kitchen and you haven't spent time doctoring and jimmying up plastic wrap boxes, you're not a cook, okay? There's a couple things you need to keep in mind procedurally for this recipe. One, you've got to make sure it gets in the fridge. Two, you want to use a cookie sheet that doesn't have edges. The lighter the color, the better. And you definitely want to use parchment paper. Parchment paper is going to keep the bottom of your cookies from browning too fast. You're going to want your oven preheated at 375 degrees. When we portion these, we're going to keep in mind two things. One, they need to be perfectly round. And two, you want to make sure that the cookies are roughly the same size and weight, because you don't want your cookies to cook at different times in the same pan. You don't have to crowd your pan. Make sure your cookies have a little room to breathe, because you want heat circulating around the whole cookie. And best believe, my man Wesley loves chocolate. They make great purees and milkshakes. Wesley gets to enjoy these cookies and is absolutely included, just like me and you. And making sure that we keep Wes in mind ensures that he is included in everything that we make here. We're going to take our cookie dough balls and we're going to throw them in our 375 degree oven for about 10 minutes. If you've got a sensitive oven, you might have to spin this pan at about 6.5 minutes. So make sure you know your oven well. A lot of the recipes that we start off with are basic recipes. We're going to be using these recipes later on down the road to build other things. For instance, we use our candy bacon recipe to build our super BLTs. We'll use the cookie dough recipe to make fried cookie dough when we make our funnel cakes. And when we do our cheesecake, we'll use our homemade caramel sauce, etc. But some of these basic videos will give you an idea on execution, method, and how you prepare things certainly. Because cooking gets a lot easier when you understand some of the basics. And understand that these are just the facts as I know them. You might find a better way. I know somebody that does it a better way. Feel free to mention that in the comments. I'm always wanting to get better. There's something that we say a lot, and it's that I will never stop failing as a chef. The day I stop failing as a chef, I know that I no longer belong in the kitchen. So feel free to give positive feedback. I want you to be included in this journey. After all, legacy is all about inclusion. So be there with us. Learn these basics and combine these things later on down the road. For real, words couldn't express how much we appreciate you checking our channel out. And if this channel gives you a new insight on special needs and causes you to go up and say hello, or to include them in your day-to-day as you're walking through, trust me, when you open your eyes for special needs, you'll see that they're all around you. These people are just like us. So include these people in your daily passing by. You would be amazed and surprised at how much it means for someone to say hello. Imagine going through your entire day without anyone saying hello to you except for your immediate family. I know, right? Don't feel bad for that. You don't know until you know, but now you know. And that's what you got for a little bit of effort that the mixer pretty much did for you totally. I want to let these cool, I really, really do, but like I'm fat, so I'm going to get in this. These cookies will blow your mind. I hope you check this recipe out. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time, peeps. And remember, it's free to be kind.